So we are now live. Happy Wednesday, everybody. We've got the awesome Rich Bellis on the call today. Rich has just finishing our program, the 1% Blueprint, a couple of weeks ago. He's kindly taken 20, 30 minutes out of his very busy schedule to have a chat to us about where he was when he started, the sort of success he's had, results he's seen, and also some of his key learnings through the process for anyone to take some learnings from. So on that note, Rich, I'll hand over to you. Can you just introduce who you are, what you do?
Yeah, my name's Richard Bellis. I am a recruiter with my own business, kind of one-man band. I was probably 6 months ago now, at least, I suppose, or initially, starting to feel heavy, slow, lazy, demotivated, all of those kind of things, which was kind of I suppose, an accumulation of a whole load of stuff that probably, I suppose, began probably just before lockdown 1 and then sort of gradually deteriorated. In fact, saying that, I would say probably lockdown 1, the sunny one, wasn't too bad. But things really kind of started to decline in lockdown 2 and beyond. So that was I suppose that's the point where I recognised that, I need to do something about this.
Excuse me. Yeah. So enough's enough. So we had a chat. Well, you sort of reached out, I think, and we had a bit of a back and forth. Then we jumped on a call and had a conversation, which would have been like 14, 15 weeks ago now. So it was like pre-Christmas, wasn't it?
Yeah.
What do you think? Before we get into the detail of where we got to and stuff, what do you think was your main catalyst for right? I want to do something about this. What was your burning bridge, if you had one?
Well, as mentioned to you before, so I was at 1.16 stone back in probably 2017, and I had some sort of, I suppose, health issues was probably the best way to put it. That ultimately ended up with me having health anxiety back then. It turned out actually it was reflux. It was just because I was overweight, I was eating the wrong things, all the rest of it. And I went on a pretty aggressive and extreme kind of weight loss program back then, and I lost a lot of weight very, very quickly. And I made some fairly decent habits at the time, or what have you, but it was no alcohol whatsoever. I literally no oil, no fats. Like it was
Cool.
Yeah, it wasn't a sustainable kind of lifestyle. I mean, it got the weight off, but what I hadn't done is, I suppose, learn any kind of real sort of blueprint, to use your word, for taking that on. And gradually I've been putting a little bit of weight on here and then, but it was mostly, I think, alcohol related. I probably drink, like a lot of us, drink more than I should do. And when I always laugh with you about this, when I get the alcohol out come the crisps, so, and I was doubling up. Yeah. And then typically I would find on the days where I'd had a drink, if I drunk slightly too much, I then wouldn't do any exercise. And, my lifestyle whilst I was losing the weight compared to where I wasn't was vastly different. And I was probably just putting, probably just a slightly, net gain in calories or over what I should have been over an extended period of time. And started getting bigger, as I say, around the start of lockdown 1. And then, like everybody else, I suppose, being sat at home, my work initially had literally just, our pipeline just collapsed sort of for the first lockdown. And really for about sort of 5 or 6 months, it was pretty quiet and dire. Having had a successful business, we weren't in financial trouble. And so I just kind of took my foot off. I was enjoying a bit of lazy time, probably spending longer in the kitchen cooking, find nice wine to go with it. And as I say, it just that compounded over a period of time. And I had that kind of shock moment where I suddenly realised, Jesus, I'm nearly where I was, going back to 2017, and I really don't want to get back there again. I could still get in all the elasticated trousers I've been wearing during the pandemic, but not a lot of the others,
And that was about when we spoke, right? And so I think that narrative you described there, Richard, I think it's quite a relatively common for quite a lot of guys that I speak to some degree, insofar as like they may have been overweight in the past, or maybe even been fit in the past, and then there's been like a slow well, you could call it increase or decline in their sort of physical health or physical well-being. But then on the flip side, often people have done something in the past and like, yeah, I've lost a shitload of weight and it all came off and I felt great. But like the issue there, like you touched on, I think, is that it doesn't fundamentally address the real reasons as to why you were there in the first place. So yeah, you can car crash your whole life by not drinking and really, really restrictive, and that'll work. But because you haven't really looked at the bigger picture stuff and what's going on, well, then when you stop that hardcore thing, slowly or speedily in some cases, it'll come back on because you haven't really addressed the fundamentals. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, that's me putting words in your mouth. So,
we spoke about this before. It's absolutely spot on. You know, in reality as well, I think a lot of people probably do the same, which is that you start thinking, oh, you know, okay, well, tomorrow I'll start doing it. And then, I don't know, whatever might happen, you wake up, you think, God, I'll have a bacon sandwich, or, you know, and then you get halfway through the day and you think, well, I might as well just put it off till tomorrow now, or I'll have a beer tonight and then I'll start tomorrow. And all of these things are really, really easy to do. And of course, you know, what I found great in the program was that it starts off with relatively small changes, which are very, very easy to do, to adapt. You know, it does ramp up, you know. I think there was a point at the point where I went, Jesus, all right, it's getting a bit tougher. But you know, it's you realise, you see the impact pretty much immediately from just those small changes. So you think, well, if just that stuff makes an impact, what else can I do? What else can I push myself just a little bit more? You know.
I think that's a good segue into talking about some of your learnings and stuff and what we got to. But before that, I think something that you just said there, Richard, which is without like, oh, I'll start Monday, I'll start again, and you don't, and something happens. And I think that probably comes from your mechanism for losing weight was something really hardcore, really fucking like intense. And so like, if you're busy, you got, you know, business, family, wife, kids, the whole piece, trying to do this crazy sort of thing on top, like the willpower involved to even do that is going to be hard, and it's a difficult thing to do.
Yeah.
So that applying that, it might have worked in the past, but it's a hard thing to do. So then every time, the only way you know to do something is this sort of quite hardcore approach. Well, then you stumble, and then if you're stuck in that feedback loop, you're like, oh, maybe I can't do this at all, which is like disempowering, right?
Yeah, and it's also like, you know, I'm not someone that likes the gym. I've never enjoyed going to the gym. It's not my thing at all. You know, it's learning really, I suppose, what you can do without having to, you know, have an entire gym in your house, or without. I mean, sometimes it's, you know, it's chucking it down with rain or whatever it might be, and you're thinking, well, how am I going to get my exercise done today or whatever? But it's all what I learned is all those little steps that you're taking, but also the stuff that you said as well, like, you know, when if you have a boozy weekend, you have a stag trip or whatever it is, don't kill yourself. Just get back to it the following week. And as long as you know the trends are there on the whole, then it's going to come off, and it did. You know, it did come off.
Well, let's talk about that then. So that's a good segue. So like, we're like 14 weeks out from when you started, or 50. I can't remember the exact numbers, but you know, you finished in a couple of weeks. Like, what are your like key sort of results and takeaways, like for body weight, like I guess mindset, or what are the things that you think like, yeah, I'm glad I've got this. You know, what
well, I'm probably a couple of pounds over where I should be at the moment because I had a little break in Dubai, so I need to get back on that a little bit. But yeah, I mean, you know, it's for me, as I say, I look, drinking one day a week was a real game changer for me. You know, I was somebody that you know, I could quite easily have a couple of beers a night, or even if I took a bottle of red wine, I'd finish it. You know, and my wife would often, you know, I'd pour her a glass, and I'd look round, I'd finish the bottle, she'd have half a glass left. She'd say, you might as well have mine. You know, so I'm pretty much drinking the whole bloody bottle every time. And if I went to the garage and got a couple of beers, I'd get 4 cans. I'd normally sit there and drink those. You know, so my relationship with alcohol wasn't good. I wouldn't say I'm an alcoholic or anything like that, but I drank too much. You know, I like drinking. I like the way it makes me feel, and I do it too often. So having that discipline to say, well, I'm not going to stop drinking, but I am going to drink one day a week. What I actually found from it was I actually started to. I like having something in the diary to look forward to, and I've had this conversation with you. So to have that one day a week that I'd look forward to my day drinking, you know, each week, and what I found was, you know, as a result of that, I also just felt a lot better during the rest of that time. It definitely gives me more energy to get up and do the things that I want to do. Plus, the kick in the arse, the cold shower gives you first thing in the morning. But yeah, so that for me, as I say, was just drinking one day a week was an absolute massive game changer for me. As much as anything else, all the, as I say, the benefits mentally and physically, and for my based on sort of level of the tiredness or level of energy or whatever. I also love the feeling of self-control that it gave me.
Yeah.
You know, which was great. You know, so that was a big game changer for me.
I think being in control, like, I think that's a really empowering place, because I think when you're, for like what you were describing, if you're drinking maybe a bit too much, or it's not even that. I think it's like if the relationship you've got, let's say use alcohol example, and you're not quite happy with it, that's usually an indication that you want to do something about it. But then that's kind of running you versus you being in control. And once you get back in the driving seat, it's not about, for most people, it's not about total restriction at all. It's just about setting boundaries and like a framework that's comfortable and serves you, right? And when you do that, that's good, because you're the one controlling it, not being controlled by it. And then.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I've said to you before with the whole drinking in the evening thing. It's almost like when I was a smoker, it's like your 11 o'clock fag break at work. You know, you go and have that because it signals that time. It's almost ceremonious. Do you know what I mean? And that's what it got like with a drink. It was like, well, I've finished work now, and like the transition is that I have a beer or I have a bottle of wine or drink a glass of wine, whatever it was. So, and it's about breaking those associations, you know, and just changing that relationship, which, as I say, I mean, it is abstinence, but it's just not total abstinence. Yeah. And I've never really thought about, I know it's probably stupid, but I've never really thought about a halfway house like that before, of sticking to that. And it has made a massive difference, without a doubt.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And something you talked about, you said, and this is something we do, is like having lots of little small things. Now, like, what drove your weight loss success in the past was total restriction, no booze, hardcore, right? This is arguably a very, very different process. And you talked about about getting that relationship and balance around alcohol. Like, what was different about this, and what do you think is going to mean, or what?
So last time around, the fundamental driver was fear. You know, I had health anxiety. You know, I got tested for everything under the sun. I went and paid £1,000 for a CT scan because I convinced myself that I had pancreatic cancer. You know, I'd got myself into a right kind of, 2 and 8.
Yeah.
And as I say, it turned out to be reflux, but it's something that took them, and it was airway reflux. It took them ages to diagnose it. So anyway, cut a long story short, with all of that, that's what was driving it was just out and out fear. Well, fear is a hell of a motivator, right? It'll make you commit to a lot of stuff, right? So, but this time around, having conquered all of that previously, I didn't have that fear anymore. So I had to find that motivation and that drive from somewhere else, right? And what a part of that was that, when I lost all the weight initially, people say, "Oh, great," and I felt, whilst it wasn't a great time, quite frankly, but I look back at photographs or whatever and think, I looked good back then. I wanna, look like that and feel like that again, if you like. So, but it was more this time. It was hard, definitely harder to find the motivation to get in touch and do it initially. But as I say, the structured way that you've got the plan and the fact that it's literally drip fed meant that it wasn't that much to commit to. Before you know it, you're on the drug almost.
Yeah,
you know what I mean, it's like
exactly.
So it's a bit. It's a sort of different. I'd ease my way in, and I was, I'm doing it. It's now, And
you said near the end, like when we had a wrap up chat, you're like, not being frank, Luke, it's not rocket science, is it? I was like, no, it's not. Like, that's the thing. Like, and I think we often, I say we, the royal we, you like think that, I've got a relatively big problem. I felt like this for a while. Weight, maybe mental health's on decline as well. You're not used so much, but a lot of the gents that we speak to, right, and just not in a great way. Big problem. Therefore, I need a big, crazy solution. And there's an asymmetry. Like, it's actually not. It's just relatively small, simple things have a huge impact, but we don't. Almost our ego gets in the way, so we don't almost allow that process to happen.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It's but as I said, 10, 12 weeks. I mean, we had a little decline at Christmas where definitely sat.
Part of the process, right? That's life.
I found Christmas this year as well. It went on forever. We usually go away sort of skiing at Christmas or whatever, and then this year, because all that stuff wasn't on, you know, by the time we were actually getting back to work, I felt really lethargic. So it was actually quite good to be mid-program, because I thought, oh, this is awful. I feel terrible. I've got to get back to it, and I jumped into it really quickly, and I probably within the space of probably a week to 10 days was back down to where I was prior to the Christmas period. Right?
That's an important point, because like Christmas and holidays and fun and stuff, they're always going to happen, and it will acutely affect your body weight. And we're just talking about body weight here over a period of time, and you are going to be more relaxed, you are going to eat more, you are going to eat more. That's cool. But then if your operating manual for how you live and how you feel, you like it, you're happy, it serves you, it gives you energy, well, then you're not going to be, oh God, back on the wagon. You've got like, you know, you're not like hating it. Whereas I think your old method, you'd be like, oh, fuck me, I've got to start this again. Whereas actually it's like, no, just crack on. And I think that, you know, you touched on it before, that breed that mentality. Well, you know, got pissed in the weekend, I feel a bit shit. Okay, Monday's a new day, crack on. Like, and I think if you can roll with that, which you have done, like you said, Dubai, waits up a little bit after Dubai. Well, cool, it will be, it's a holiday. But your operating manual now for how you live, well, then actually it's going to serve you. It's not like you're having to jump back on some horrible wagon. You've got a way to live that you enjoy.
Yeah,
I put words in your mouth there, Richard, I realise, but does that make sense?
Yeah, 100%. I also realised this time around that, you know, whilst you can lose the first bit very, very quickly, but you know, as long as it was coming off, I wasn't overly obsessive with how quickly it was coming off. As long as I could see it coming down. I mean, last time around, I think I was losing £3 or £4 a week. I mean, I was hammering it, but which isn't great. But I think this time around, I was probably losing anything two on a good week, 1.5. But it was always going in the right direction, and that's, you know, I mean, I've got a pretty good diet anyway. So I mean, you know, but we'd have whatever in the evening. We'd still have a takeaway once a week. You know, we'd still have a good. And I said to you before, you know, on the day I was drinking, I was drinking, right? So I was having a nice time. So it's not like I was, you know, there weren't really. I didn't feel as I was missing out on anything, and I think that's the bit.
That's the point. Yeah.
That's really, really, really important, because you know, if you view your blueprint for life as miserable, you're not going to stick to it.
No, of course not.
So yeah, for me, it was something that I will carry on, you know, but forever really. I mean, I might have 2 days drinking once I lose all the weight. But
yeah, well, that's fine. But again, that's just for me. That's just about the balance that you're happy and comfortable with. But I think like, it might be that flexibility works. Okay, so I think that's been really helpful. So it sounds like key takeaways are the balance and structure around alcohol, not being big, scary things, small and incremental. I like that, what you said. It's like before you know it, you're on the drug. But that's the point of habits. You want it to become autonomous. Was there anything, and this might be a slightly random question, so if you don't know, and the answer, I don't think so, it doesn't matter. Anything that surprised you about the process, you thought, bloody hell, I wasn't expecting that, or that was a bit different, or?
I mean, as I said to you before, there was some of the stuff that I stuck to, and some of the stuff that for me was a bit tougher. We spoke about me having ADHD and things like meditation and stuff.
Yeah, it's a tough one for you, yeah, for sure.
You can, but you meditate in a different way. I think with ADHD, you kind of multitask almost, you know. So it's a little bit different. But no, what are the things? The other things, some of the stuff that was obviously that I just didn't expect to be in there was things were totally unrelated to weight loss, but things that you realise actually is having an effect on the way you live, and therefore your mental state, and therefore what you consume and how you act. Right? It's all that same thing. Things like the phone detox. I think it's brilliant. I mean, I think we should all do it. I think there should be cubby holes when you go in the pub as well. So
yeah, exactly. So you actually have to talk to people. You know, sit at the table when your mate's gone for a piss, right? Yeah. And just be there and not turn off. Imagine that. You imagine like what that'd be like.
But it's a favourite sign, wasn't there, in some pub a few years back that said, "Sorry, no Wi-Fi. You'll have to get drunk and talk to each other."
Exactly.
Brilliant.
Sorry, I interrupted you there, but yeah.
No, that's, but yeah. So there was stuff in there, as I say, from a surprise point of view. There was just things in there that I was like, oh crikey, okay, and you know, and I think we do. You know, I'm a 45-year-old cynical so there was stuff that I came up with. Oh, fuck it, come on.
Yeah.
But you know what? Actually, if you embrace it, you know, a lot of that stuff you really see the positive side of, right? So yeah, you know, I was a convert. I mean, as I say, this is my office. I'm sitting at the moment. My house is over there, so I literally plug in at the end of the night and go indoors, and that's it. And it's fantastic.
It's having a mechanism for decompressing, which is booze, right? There we go. So rather than going like, oh, I'm going to have 4 cans to unwind, it's like, well, I've got other ways I can do that to disconnect, to then go and be present. I think those sort of tools, although ostensibly like, well, I know one of your main drivers for this process was weight loss, which is cool, which a lot of the guys is, but some guys it's maybe more mindset as well. But equally, those things, although on the paper they don't feed in, but actually they do, because that allows you to decompress. So then you're less likely to have maybe alcohol. Then you actually might sleep better. So you get up and you're more likely to exercise. And all sort of.
I don't think you can have a weight loss issue which isn't connected to
this. Exactly.
Else. I think that's meant to do. Oh, my mother and father were NLP master practitioners and hypnotherapists, and smoking and weight loss are the two things that take people to the door. And it's amazing what you then uncover beyond. So it's all this stuff's connected. You know, there's a reason I'm sat there drinking in the evening and stuffing my face with crisps, and it's not just because I want to. You know, it's because of other stuff going on and things that I'm choosing not to do to do that. You know, so.
And for me, it's those bits as well as the practical aspects of stuff we need to do, and it's putting those pieces together holistically. I know that's a wanky word, but that's what allows for, I believe, long-term success and what we're talking about, because. You can't. I don't believe if you want to get real results that last, you can't have one without the other. And that's like everyone's different, right? Some people need a bit more, and some people a bit less. And there's obviously like a spectrum of it all. But I think to ignore either, like you're not going to get where you want, you know. So
no. And I think we all know what we should be eating, and we all know that we shouldn't be drinking too much, and we all know we should be exercising. But it's just about creating those habits, isn't it? That you stick to at least 90% of the time, you know. Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, this whole conversation has been really helpful, Richard. I think hopefully some of the guys watching it have got some stuff out of it. If someone was watching this and they were thinking, "Oh, like I like what Richard said, but I'm not sure about working with Luke," or they're a bit on the fence, or you know they're maybe considering having a chat, but you know they're not sure whether to actually get in touch. What would you say to someone who was in a similar situation to yourself that you were in when you first started?
Well, I would say the first step you take with resolving anything is to take action, first and foremost. And you know, I can say personally, having sat on the calls, I didn't sit on the call with anybody who wasn't sitting there having had results. You know, week in, week out, you know, guys, you know, some guys that were pretty big, other guys that were just trying to lose a little bit, whatever. Everyone was getting results, and also finding you know lots of different other benefits, you know, mentally really, and just good habits which are better, not just for us, by the way, but your family. You know, when I go into my house when I'm overweight and drinking and stressed, you know, I'm not the nicest guy in the world to live with, right? And so it wasn't just about getting me to a better place. It's about everybody in the family being in a better place. So, which is, you know, for me, anyone that's sitting and teetering on the edge, I'd say jump in and check it out. You know, you got nothing to lose.
Thank you, mate. Well, thanks for ringing endorsement. Say again.
Other than weight.
Yeah, exactly. That's a key one. Well, yeah. On that note, Richard, thank you very much for your time. Much appreciated. I hope anyone who's watching, they've enjoyed this and got a lot out of it. If you're interested, like Richard said, in having a chat, so you know how I can help, pop a note in the comments, and we can arrange a call, or send me a message and we can arrange a chat. It'll take a quick 10 minutes, find out where you're at, and we can take it from there. On that note, have an amazing week, Richard. Thank you very much, and enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, guys. Cheers.